Peace, everybody. It's Tamiko Show. Hi. It is snowing like the dickens outside. So anyway, this is my midnight confessional, and it is my reaction to the Zeitgeist movie, which the link is down here, somewhere down there. Yeah. I put the link in the little doohickey at the bottom of the doohickey. And also originally I had DJ Underdog Africa 4 playing in the background, but for whatever reason my mic is sucking right now and it didn't mix well. But the link to the free download is down here, and basically it's world music. DJ Underdog is a local DJ to the DC area. Love the independent artists. Go check them out if you can. Download for free. Yeah, check it out. So this is my confessional to the Zygoth, my reaction to the Zygoth movie. Moving forward, again, the link is down here. Check it out. And yeah, and this is going to be a long one. So if you're already tired of hearing me, give me a thumbs up and skedaddle. Because it's going to be a long one. But if you want to hear what I have to say, then stay put. I'm not going to tell you about the movie itself. I'm just going to tell you my reactions. There were 7 things that came up for me, and so I'm just going to tell you my reactions to the movie. 7 things that came up, but there's an overall thing that came up for me, and that's freedom. I think we really need to look at our concept of freedom and what, as a nation, what freedom means, and then what as a government, what freedom means. That came up for me from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie. So we really need to look at freedom and what freedom means individually, which is the most important thing, in my opinion. But also as a nation, what freedom means, and then of course as a government, what freedom means. Because I think all 3 are different, and I think when we can align all 3 to mean the same thing, then we've really achieved something great. So yeah, Zeitgeist movie, moving forward, great movie. The first half is everything that I've been studying for the past 3 years. The second half was everything I studied in undergrad. And then the last half was what I really enjoyed. It was resolve, and I really love it that they gave some sort of resolution and resolve for things. So check it out. I think it's worth the 3 hours. I've actually watched it twice today. Snowing. That's why it's snowing. It's snowing. It's snowing. So, and it's pretty bad out. I hope everyone is home safe and warm. So I'm going to start this again. This is going to be a long one, so if you don't want to hear me. Alright, so my first initial reaction when everything was said and done was M. Night. I'm a huge M. Night fan. Huge. Huggy, as we say. Um, and huge M. Night fan, and well, my favorite movie of his is Unbreakable, but my second favorite is The Village. And I love how in The Village he used fear as a mechanism to rule. And I also love how he showed that because he used fear as a mechanism to rule, that everything then crumbled. I think a fear-based society is a society destined to doom, and and that came up for me from in the Zygoth movie. And Unbreakable kind of came up as well. We all are gifted with wonderful talents, and we need to use them. And when we are able to use them without having to be, when we're able to use them in a society that allows us to live by using them, but not necessarily having to make a wage off of them, I think that's a great thing. Which brings me to communal living. I've preached about communal living for several years now. I think that is the only way to live. If you look at all of the books that speak of people who make it happily to older ages and who are still very active in their older age, um, as they get older, or as they age, they are tribal communal places. I think if you have a very strong, good foundation, people who know you at birth, and know your family, and you can relate to them as you grow, and then venture out a little and see the world. I'm not against seeing the world. I think that's very necessary. But then being able to come back to a community that accepts you for who you are and will watch you, go through your older age, or, becoming elderly, support you in that, and then you can bow out gracefully. I think that's really necessary. So communal living came up for me. Another thing that came up within the communal living, or an aspect that comes up because of communal living, is touch. Today, as I said, it was snowing, and I took public transportation out, and then got stuck because of the snow, and I needed to ride back, and someone very nice gave me a ride back. But upon returning to my home, getting ready to get out of the car, she went to hug me, and I instantly jumped back, and then I felt really bad about doing it because I wasn't prepared for her to give me a hug, you know. And just a simple thing as touching is just very necessary. It's a basic human need, and that definitely is something that we, need to really look into as to why we don't, outside of sensually or sadistically, touch each other. I think it's a very, important thing. I'm gonna skip number 4 and go to number 5, and then come back to number 4. So, the fifth thing that came up for me is debt and money, or money equaling debt. When money first started off, it was backed by gold and then by silver. Nothing is backing money now except paper. A piece of paper, a deed, a title, um, a CD, a bond, that's simply saying this is worth this. There's nothing else that equates that worth. And I think that when we learn to barter services and goods, as we originally did, as Native American people did, as all the communal, tribal people do, we'll be in a much better place, um, all over. Which brings me to GDP, which came up a lot in the video, and just looking at that, this is number 4. Just looking at that, um, I came up with my own little words for the acronym GDP. G as in George, D as in dog, P as in Paul. And that is government damns people. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just when we are governed, the government is going to try and find balance. And with balance, there's one end and another end. And to have balance, you have to have something at both ends. So if there's a positive, if there are rich people, then there's going to have to be poor people. If there are, you know, sane people, then there's going to have to be insane people. And I think that, again, when we can have a society that the government reflects the society completely, 100%, um, you know, based in a communal setting where money isn't a dominating force, I think the GDP will become something completely different, and it won't be government damns people, but it'll be something completely different and something more positive. However, there's going to have to be balance. So, there will be a high end and a low end, that needs to be balanced out. And really, balance would be having everything across the board. Um, but, which brings me to wage slaves, which is my sixth thing that came up for me. The sixth thing that came up for me was wage slaves. And, um, a simple idea of this is just, someone who clocks in and they do this for 8 hours. This is all they do. They just turn a knob 8 hours a day for $8 an hour. And they're just doing it. They're not using their mind. They're barely using any of their physicalities. They're just turning a knob 8 hours a day for $8 an hour because they need the money. Because in society you need money. Or the opposite is, you take a job where you're paid 20, 30, $40,000 less than what you really should be worth because you need the money. And you go in and you do that job. You think beyond what you should every day, and you do that job, and the reason why you do it is because you need the wage. Another is the complete opposite. You're paid way above than what you should be. You hardly think in your job. You hardly do anything. But you go in and you pretend, or put on the facade of being able to accomplish this job every day for the wage. And I think wage slaves, you know, there are several different ways of being enslaved in society today, and wage is definitely enslaving a lot of people. I'm at the 10-minute mark. Um, uh, the last one is victims of culture, and I do believe, you know, I'm very blessed that I had the upbringing that I did. I lived all over the world. I lived in, Germany for almost 12 years. Lived in Spain for a number of years. I lived in Africa for a couple of months. I lived in Italy for a couple of months. I lived in Hungary for a couple of months. I even, was in Czechoslovakia, and I've been all over the world, and not just visiting. Like, I've actually lived all over the world and throughout the U.S. And I'm very blessed to have had that experience. And there aren't a lot of people who have that experience, and I think that my mind is open to a lot of things because I have been all over the world and I have seen different cultures. And then you come to a place like Washington D.C., where most local Washingtonians have never been outside of the three states, the Washington D.C., which is in the state, but Virginia and Maryland, and sometimes Delaware. Like, they've never been any further than that in their entire lives. Some people have never even been off of their block, you know, and all they know is get money. That's all they know, and be politically correct. Get it any way you possibly can, but appear to be as politically correct as you can while doing it. And I'm just like, ugh, victims of culture. The greatest thing about the United States is that we do have so many diverse cultures in one huge place, all mingling together on a daily basis. And, you know, we don't really take advantage of that. And, like I said, go down here. Hold on. Yeah, go down here. Check out somewhere around here. One of those down there. Check out DJ Underdog, but also check out um, the Zeitgeist movie, Moving Forward, and look at the resolves they give. And I have to say that I've illustrated this several times in my journal. I've told people about it a couple of times. Aquaponics and hydroponics is the wave of the future. I think, I'm not telling you about the movie at all, but this is my thought process. I think when we can really utilize those two and come up with clean produce, a lot of production, there wouldn't be a movement for raw food because we would naturally go towards it. There wouldn't be a movement for vegans because we'd naturally go towards that thing because we're able to produce those things within our society and make them readily available to everybody so that everybody learns the benefits of it. And I think when we can, really figure out a master plan in doing that, then we will succeed. I think when we can find a government that truly reflects society, when society has truly reflected the individual, then we'll have, a very peaceful and loving world. And I think to me, that's freedom. When there's peace and love. Not just peace, not just people getting along with people because they have to, but love as well. Loving that person, and that's why there's peace. I think that's freedom. That's my definition of freedom. So I have two requests of you today. The first is, please go down here, click on the link for the Zygost movie, and the second is, what is your definition of peace, and what would it take for us to get there? Resolve is really important. All right, y'all. I know this was long. I told you at the beginning. Please like it, and I will see you next time. Pieces like Reese's. I love you.